If you think you've learned everything about a first and second conditional and now you just need to practice both of them, maybe in a mixed way, then you are watching the right video. In this video, we are going to practice, drill, mix both of them so that it's more challenging for you. And first of all, we are going to briefly summarize, briefly recap what we already know about these two conditionals. My first question is, what do they have in common? The answer is both first and second conditional are used for present or future situations, never for past situations, just for present and future situations. Next thing they have in common is that they express a condition. Also, they use this short word if in their sentences. And finally, they consist of two parts, the if clause and the main clause. However, more important question is, how are they different? Let's start with the first conditional. Very briefly, first conditional is used to talk about something which can realistically happen in the future. I am stressing this realistically because you should always remember that we use first conditional to talk about real situations that are likely to happen in the future. The structure of the first conditional is if and present simple in the if clause, and will and infinitive in the main clause. The word if means ak in Slovak, and here is an example sentence. If it's sunny tomorrow, we'll have a barbecue. So if clause with if and present simple. So it is, if it is sunny tomorrow. And the main clause with will and infinitive. We will have or will have a barbecue. This is a realistic situation in the future, tomorrow. Now, let's contrast it with the second conditional. We use the second conditional to talk about unreal or imaginary situations in the future. Again, I'm stressing unreal or imaginary because these situations are not likely, not probable to happen in the future. Its structure is if plus past simple in the if clause and would plus infinitive in the main clause. Watch out because the meaning of if changes from ak in the first conditional to kebi in the second conditional. An example sentence, if I lived in a house, I'd have a dog. It is imaginary because I do not live in a house. I live in an apartment. But I imagine that if I lived in a house, I would have a dog. If plus past simple in the if clause and would plus infinitive in the main clause. So I would have a dog or I'd have a dog. If you need any more information about the first and second conditional, for example, example sentences, common mistakes, useful tips, activities, and conversation questions to practice, please just click on the links which are below in the video description. You will find much more about these two conditionals. Now in this part, we are going to practice first or second conditional. This part is designed for the Slovak learners of English because it's focused on translation. But if you're not Slovak, do not despair. You can just go ahead straight to the conversation part, which will be only in English. So for those who are Slovaks, let's see. I'm going to show you a Slovak sentence. I'm going to ask you which conditional you would use for the translation, first or second. And then I'll leave you some space to translate it and I'll show the correct translation. So let's see the first sentence. Keby som mal veľa peňazí, kúpil by som si chatu. Now tell me, which conditional is it, first or second? If you said first, you were wrong. If you said second, very well. It's second conditional because we started with the word kebi. And we said that for the first conditional, we would have to start with ak, not kebi. Okay? This is an imaginary situation. So now please translate it. If I had a lot of money, I'd buy a cottage. Very well. So this is the if clause, if I had a lot of money, where we have to put if in past simple. So if I had a lot of money, and the main clause with would plus infinitive, I would buy a cottage. Contraction, I'd buy a cottage. Very well. Let's continue to the next one. Navštívil by som ťa, keby som mal čas. Which conditional is that? Second one, again, there is kebi. Although the order of the two clauses is swapped. So we start with the main clause and continue with the if clause. Please translate. Let's see. I'd visit you if I had the time. So main clause, I would visit you, I'd visit you, so would plus visit. And the if clause, if I had the time, if plus past simple. Let's continue. Ak budeš chcieť, ostanem s tebou. Which conditional is this? Now it's first because we started with ak. Very well. Translate, please. And this is it. If you want, I'll stay with you. So if clause, if plus present simple, I hope you did not say if you will want, like in the Slovak sentence, but only present simple, no will, right? This is one of the most common mistakes. People put will after if, but it's wrong. So if you want, I'll stay with you. So in the main clause, we have to put will and infinitive. I'll stay with you. Also the pronunciation. Do not say I'll stay with you, but I'll stay with you. If you want, I'll stay with you. Very well, let's continue. Zavolám políciu, ak budú mať susedia zase party. Which conditional? First, very well. And now translate. All right. I'll call the police if the neighbors have a party again. So we started with the main clause. I'll call the police. Will plus infinitive. I'll call. I'll call the police if the neighbors have a party again. Do not put will in this clause, right? Only present simple. So if the neighbors have a party again, not will have. Let's go on. Keby som mal auto, nemusel by som chodiť pešo. Which conditional is that? Second, because we are talking imaginary situation, keby. Now translate. Let's see. If I had a car, I wouldn't have to walk. If I had a car, so if plus past simple in the second conditional, and I wouldn't have to walk, there is a negative, right? Nemusel by som. I wouldn't have to walk. Maybe you said go on foot. That's also correct. I wouldn't have to go on foot or walk, simply. Zmokneš, ak si zabudneš dážnik doma. Which conditional is this? First, very well. It's a realistic situation, right? So now translate. And this is the result. So you'll get wet if you forget your umbrella at home. You'll get wet is the main clause, will, an infinitive. And if you forget the umbrella at home is the if clause, where we have to put if and present simple. If you forget the umbrella at home. All right. Ak ma bude boliť hlava, pôjdem do postele. Which conditional is it? First, of course, also realistic. And now translation. If I have a headache, I'll go to bed. So if I have a headache, if plus present simple, I'll go to bed. So I will go to bed. Super. Oslávim to, ak si nájdem novú prácu. First or second? Yes, very well. First, because there is ak and it's realistic. Now translate. Okay. I'll celebrate if I find a new job. I'll celebrate will plus infinitive and if clause if I find a new job. Not if I will, but if I find a new job. Only if and present simple. Excellent. Now let's continue. Urobil by som to, keby si bol môj šéf. Which conditional is this one? Yes, it's second because it's keby and it's imaginary situation. So translate. Let's see. I'd do it if you were my boss. So we started with a main clause. I'd do it. Would plus infinitive. I would do it. If you were my boss, if and past simple, if you were my boss. Very well. And the last slide. Keby som bol tebou, zavolal by som jej. It's second conditional because we have keby. Keby som bol tebou, that's clearly imaginary because I'm I and you are you. So it's second conditional imaginary situation. Please translate. Let's see. If I were you, I'd call her. If I were you, I'd call her. Well, so we have if clause, if I were you, and the main clause, I'd call her, would plus infinitive. And watch out for this word. This is be in the past simple. And in the second conditional video, I've mentioned that this is a special case because I can use were with all persons. I, he, she, it, we, they in the second conditional in the if clause. So I don't say if I was you, but if I were you, I'd call her. Okay, let's continue. Zohriem si polievku, ak bude studená. Which conditional is this one? Yes, it's first because it's realistic. There is ak. So translate, please. I'll heat up the soup if it's cold. So again, we started with the main clause. I'll heat up the soup. I will heat up. So will plus infinitive. And if it's cold, if plus present simple. Very well. Nebol by šťastný, keby bol sám. Which conditional is this? It's second because there is keby. And now translate it. He wouldn't be happy if he were alone. So, main clause. He wouldn't be happy, negative. Okay, so would not plus infinitive. He wouldn't be happy if he were alone. If plus past simple. Again, the same case as here. If I were you, not if I was you, because it's second conditional, imaginary scenario, special case of the verb be. Here is the same. If he were alone, he's not alone. This is just imaginary situation. So we say if he were alone, he wouldn't be happy. Excellent. Very good job. Let's talk both conditionals. Okay, how to go about it? We're going to talk about both realistic future situations and imaginary future situations. First, I'll tell you what I will or I would do in those situations, and afterwards, I'll ask you what you will or would do. Based on what you've learned about the first and second conditional, you'll have to decide which one to use, first or second. Every time, please try to give me a long answer, including both the if clause and the main clause, so as to practice the language properly. Okay, so my first statement is, if I were in a band, I would play the guitar. Okay, first I'm going to ask you, which conditional is this? I hope you said second, because clearly, yes, this is second conditional. In the first if part or if clause, we have if I were in a band, which is if in past simple. And in the second main clause, we have would infinitive. So clearly second conditional. Also, you can see there, if I were in a band, okay, this were is be in the past simple, and it's connected with I in the second conditional or with any other person, because it's quite an exception here, I would say, and it's for imaginary scenarios. If I were in a band, I am not, and I probably never will be. But when I imagine it, if I were in a band, I would play the guitar. So second conditional, my reason for this is that I don't have very good musical hearing. That's why it's not so realistic for me to be in a band. But it's kind of my dream. And if I had to choose, out of all those musical instruments which I would like to play, it would be the guitar. It's quite cool, I think, and I would like to be able to play it. Well, now question for you. If you were in a band, which instrument would you play? And what kind of band would you be in, maybe? Please answer. Okay, very well. Next statement, my personal statement. If a friend gives me a puppy as a birthday present, I won't accept it. All right, grammar-wise, which conditional is that? I'm glad you said first, which is correct. If you take a look at it, at the structure, if a friend gives me a puppy as a birthday present, we have if plus present simple. If a friend gives me a puppy, I won't accept it. I won't means I will not accept it. So negative of will and infinitive. Clearly it's first conditional, realistic scenario, because it is possible, it is, imaginable that a friend gives me a puppy as a birthday present. My friends know that I love dogs, I love puppies very much, but I would have to say no to a puppy as a birthday present because I live in a flat, in an apartment, and I don't think it's a clever idea to, to have a dog in those 3 rooms. It's not enough space for a dog to run around. So I would say, or I will say no. If a friend gives me a puppy, I will not accept it. I consider it a torture for the animal to be in such a small, tiny space as an apartment. Well, question for you. If a friend gives you a puppy as a present, will you accept it? And why or why not? Please answer. Very well. My next statement is, if I leave my windows open and go to work, nothing will probably happen. Okay, grammatically speaking, which conditional is this? It's first, that's right. If I leave my windows open, so if plus present simple, if I leave my windows open and go to work, nothing will probably happen. So will plus infinitive will happen. So again, a realistic situation in the future. And now why I said that. If I leave my windows open and go to work, nothing will probably happen. Yeah, as I said before, I live in an apartment and I live on the 6th floor, the top floor. So there is no immediate danger, you know, nothing or no one should be able to get into my flat. Okay, I can imagine that there is a violent, very strong thunderstorm with very heavy rain. In that case, I would have water under my windows, but let's not think about that, okay? I think there is really no immediate danger. So I think that if I leave my windows open and I go to work, nothing major will happen. Question for you now. What will happen if you leave your windows open and go to work? Answer, please. Okay, let's go on. If I saw a bear in a forest, I would start running. So this is my personal statement, and I think this is true for me. If I saw a bear in a forest, I would start running. First of all, tell me which conditional. Is it first or second? Yes, it is second, because saw after if, that's past simple of see, right? If I saw a bear in a forest, I would start running. Would and infinitive. So second conditional, clearly. Well, and why I said that, if I saw a bear in a forest, I would start running. I know all those experts say that if you meet a bear in a forest, please just lie down and don't panic and just pretend to be dead. I can imagine that in that moment, I see a bear in front of me looking at me and I should just lie down. Are you crazy? No. I think I will panic, or I would, imaginary situation, I would panic and I would just run for the hills. And no questions asked, definitely. So if I saw a bear in a forest, I would start running. I'm sorry, all those experts. I will not just lie down. What about you? What would you do if you saw a bear in a forest? Be honest, please. Tell me the truth. Okay, very well. Let's continue with another statement of mine. If I get stuck in an elevator, I will probably panic. Another panicky situation here. Okay, first or second conditional? It's first, that's right. Realistic situation that can possibly happen in the future. If I get stuck in an elevator, if clause with present simple after if. And main clause with will and infinitive. I will panic. Yeah, I said before that I live in an apartment building, which has a lift, which has an elevator, and I use that elevator. So it is very possible that one day in the future, it will get stuck, or I will get stuck in that elevator. In that case, I will probably panic. I know myself, and I don't like the situations where I am, locked up or closed up in a space, very small, confined space, and I have a feeling that I don't have enough oxygen. The fact is that I'm claustrophobic, so I will probably panic. I know myself. If I get stuck in an elevator, I will probably panic. What about you? What will you do if you get stuck in an elevator? Answer, please. Good. My next statement, if I could be any animal, I would be a bird. Which conditional is this? Obviously second conditional, because it's imaginary. If I could be any animal, could is the past simple of can. So if plus past simple, and would plus infinitive, I would be a bird. I think that I've already mentioned that in my previous video about the second conditional. I would like to be a bird if that were possible, because I admire this ability to, push off the ground, flap maybe the arms or the wings, and float in the air. I would love to experience that. It must be awesome. This freedom, the feeling of freedom, and seeing the world from up above, something wonderful. So if I could be any animal, I would be a bird. Question for you. If you could be any animal, what animal would you be and why? Answer, please. Excellent job. Now, my next question is, or basically this is first just my statement. If I met a genie, I would wish for world peace, of course, for good health, and to be multilingual. Okay, first or second conditional? Tell me. It's second conditional, yes, because of the structure. Maybe some of the words in the sentence are not clear to you, but just focus on the structure now, yes? After if, there is met. So past simple of meet. And in the second part is would plus infinitive. So I would wish for those things. Clearly second conditional. Now, regarding the meaning, let's focus on this word genie. If you don't know who a genie is, maybe you are familiar with a fairy tale where there is Alibaba or something like that. I think this is the one. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But genie is that male spirit who lives in a lamp. And when you take the lamp and you rub it, this genie comes out and he will make your wish or wishes come true, okay? He asks you, what are your wishes? And you say, I want this and this and that, probably 3 wishes if I remember well. And he makes those wishes come true. So this is genie, all right? And if I met a genie like that, I would wish for world peace, of course, because who doesn't want world peace, right? If we have world peace, we'll all be happy. Then I would wish for good health, mental and physical, both. And finally, to be multilingual. Yeah, I would love to speak like maybe 4 or 5 languages, but not just, bits and pieces, but completely fluently, very well. Yeah, that's something I would really love. So, question for you now. If you met a genie, what would you wish for? Good. And my last personal statement is, I'll order pizza if I have a party tonight. Which conditional is that? It's first, right? I'll order pizza, main clause with will and infinitive. And after if, I have only have, which is present simple. If I have a party tonight. So first conditional, realistic situation, because why not? Maybe I will have a party tonight. Nobody knows. And if I have a party tonight, I'll order pizza. Why pizza? Very simple answer, because it's my total favorite, okay, of all food. Pizza is my favorite food. I love it, and I would be able to eat it from now until the rest of my life. Seriously, my absolute favorite. So, and I think it's a really good party food. Anyway, I'll order pizza if I have a party tonight. And you? What food will you order if you have a party tonight? Answer, please. Okay, very well. So that's all. Excellent job on your part, really. In this video, we've practiced, we've mixed the two conditionals, first and second. If you have the need to get back to all the information, necessary information about the first and second conditional, please just click on those links below in the video description. You can find out much more. You can get back to this video anytime you want. It's right there with you or for you on the internet. This is Miriam from Language Studio Euphema, and I hope you will tune me again next time. Bye-bye.